Everyone wants more money, but most of us weren't taught how to create an abundant life. That's where the More Money Show comes in. If you're ready to have more money, create more freedom, and experience more fun, turn the volume up. It's time to learn how to create the prosperity and life you have been dreaming of. Here's your host, Cassie Parks.
Hello and welcome to the More Money Show. I'm your host, Cassie Parks, and I'm excited to be here with you today. Thank you for tuning into the show. I hope you are loving the new format where I'm interviewing people who have successfully manifested more money in their life. I know that you're here because you're ready to welcome more money in your life and release that struggle to do so. You probably have a business, and the more money that you allow into your life, the more business comes into your life. And you can't grow your business if you're not able to allow more money into your life. It just won't work, because generally growing your business means, as a byproduct, more money's coming in. And so if you're not allowing that, it's just not going to be able to come in. So I'm excited to be back, just you and me today for an episode. This is kind of special. I want to share some things that are going on with you, and just wanted to take a second to connect back in, just you and me. So thank you for listening. Thank you for being being here and listening to the show. I would love, if you love it, go write a comment on iTunes, share it with a friend or 5 friends, and let me know how the show has impacted your life. I love to get those emails that people say, in the last year, I've gotten a new job, I've done this, I've done that, just from listening to your show. So that makes me super happy. I love it. Because obviously I don't get to work with every single one of you on a personal one-on-one basis. I love my work that I do with my clients, but I also love knowing that you are all out there changing your life as well. So I am assuming that you're loving getting inspired by all these other people who are also welcoming more money into their life. But like I said, today we're going to talk about how to change your money story. And I'm excited about this because changing your money story it's everything. So your money story, and I totally knew this, but as I've just been growing myself and growing my business, and I'm at a place where I feel like I'm at the top of one mountain and I can really look down and have this view. Or like when I lived at the Four Seasons, and I was way up top and I could see like, oh, there's a pool on the roof over there I didn't know about. Oh my gosh, look at that garden, look at that patio on the roof. Like I could see all of this stuff that I didn't know existed when you're on the ground. And in my business, I feel like I've done that, either climb to the mountain or taking the elevator to the 34th floor so that I can really see what's going on, what's happening. And when you get to that place in your business, it's really cool for a number of reasons. Number one, if you're there, it means you've served a lot of people. The Manifest 10K course, formerly known as Money, 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 has served over 2,000 people, and it's helped people change their money mindset. Thousands of people have manifested more money because they've taken that course. And so I've been able to, I can see now, right? I've helped so many people. I was thinking about this morning. This is one of the things I'm really excited about too, is that I've helped so many, I've helped a number of people. And this is, I'm just talking about Manifest 10K right now. I've helped a number of people through the workshop as well. But when I'm specifically thinking about money mindset and, this changing your money story, I've helped so many people that I can see things different. I can see the patterns. I can see where I can get better. I can see these things. And it's such a great place to be in business because when you're first starting out, I remember is anyone going to sign up for this? Am I going to be able to do this? Are people going to be as successful as I think they are? And of course, all those things, yes, that's exactly what happened. And so it's really cool to be in the throes of it and learning how it's all going to work and how the process is going to work. But I really love being where I am now. I love every moment of my business and the journey of it, because it really is, it's about the journey. It's about, there's this next step and this next step. And the thing I love about business is you get to learn about yourself in the process. I've had some requests to, write a sequel to Choose Me about Melanie and her journey. And if you don't know yet, Choose Me is my novella that I launched in January. You can go to Amazon and just search Choose Me and you'll see it. The girl has teal sneakers on and she's laying in in a field of flowers. But, and so one of my friends said to me, I said, well, I don't know what would be next. She's like, conquered this. She goes, oh, you could have her start a business because that, brings up everything. That's a whole other journey. And it is like the things that you learn when you're in business are incredible, and it's just about yourself, and the way that it pushes you to grow should you choose to keep growing is amazing. And so I'm excited about that, but I'm also excited about how I get to grow in the way that I serve. So if you haven't heard yet, there's some big changes that came to Manifest 10K after about 3.5 years. I've decided it's, to close the doors on the pay after you manifest option. And it's so interesting because, and I want to share this because it's interesting to watch people's reaction. And what I know for sure in business is you have to do what you know is right. It doesn't matter what somebody else thinks or believes or their reaction to it. And I'm so grateful that I've already learned that lesson, because I just go, okay, thanks, and I move on, because when you change stuff in your business, even in the beginning, when you change things, people always have an opinion, right? People always have an opinion about what you're doing. And one of the things that I think makes me really good in my business is that I own 100% like my choices and my intuition and my gut and the nudges for my future self. All of those things, I don't ever just make a decision lightly. It's come from a place of service. It's come from a place of my future self. It's really come from this inner guidance that says this is the next step. It's come from my future self laying the path. So Manifest 10K is no longer available in the pay after you manifest version. And so, which is cool. And I love it because when I've taken this step up and looked at things, I realized people weren't super successful as I wanted in that course, because I want my work to change your direction. I want it to change your money story. I want it to change your life. I want it to have this big, huge impact. And I love to serve all of you through this, but if we're working together, if you're using my stuff and my material, I want it to have a big impact. And I saw that it wasn't having the big impact that I wanted. And the way that I saw that is because I now have a system, and I've had it for a year, where I can see like how many times do people log in? How far in the course do they get? And when I saw that, the average person, and I'm talking to more than 50% of the people who sign up, don't make it past day 5, I'm not okay with that, because you're not changing anything. If you don't make it past day 5, it doesn't matter if I'm offering you a course where you can pay after you manifest or not. If you're not doing it, you're not having success. And it's not about whether you're paying me, it's about whether you're having success. And so there's no use in having a course that isn't being taken full advantage of. So, and I've also been able to see, as I've done the interviews that you guys have been hearing for the last couple of weeks, as I've been connecting more and more with the people that have been super successful in the course, the one thing that's become clear to me, which I didn't see before, was that most often it's something I say in the process that opens the door. It's the coaching that I give along the way, which I don't do in the course anymore. I made that decision for different reasons, growing into myself and really, when you coach in a group like that, I love it. And it was super fun in the beginning, but there's people who are committed and there's people who aren't. And there's no way to tell that up front unless you make people, invest in themselves. And I had a client tell me, she said, when it was pay after you manifest, when I did it that way, I had no incentive to follow through. I wasn't committed. I just wasn't. I didn't start out committed the way I did this time. And she's already manifested $15,000, and you'll get to hear her story soon. But 2 months into the course, she already manifested more than 15,000. There was like a 15,000 lump sum, but there were things that had come before that. And so she'd never done that before. She'd never been that successful, and she'd had the opportunity to take that course. And so when I saw that, and when I realized that the people that were having the most success, there's people who have done it on their own, but they're like in the 1% where I haven't had some coaching impact. And so for me, I want people who are changing the trajectory of their life by changing their money story. So, if you haven't heard, that's the way it is. Have new have all excitement. There's something, since most people only got to day 5, I created something that is a 5-day challenge called Change Your Money Story. And you can enroll by going to changeyourmoneystorychallenge.com and catch up on that if you haven't joined it yet. It's awesome. So originally there were 379 people in the challenge, and they manifested over $50,000 in 5 days. So that's incredible. And I love it has that same group energy. It has all those things that you loved about Manifest 10K. And it's a shorter version. And then if you want to take it deeper, obviously I can help you and coach you through Manifest 10K now, because that's an option. And that really wasn't an official option before where you could get my coaching. And I'm super excited about it. So changeyourmoneystorychallenge.com is now my complimentary offer for you. Feel free to take advantage of that. And today we're going to, in case you don't want to, or if you do, just to sort of add to that, I'm going to talk about how to change your money story. Because what I've really learned over the past 3 months, I think, as I feel like I can now look back and see, oh, like this is where this part of the journey started, which is always what happens, is changing your money story is what happens when you set the intention to manifest something like $10,000. It's that journey that changes the story. It's not the intention. So a lot of people will go into something like change their money story, and they'll just like, I want to have a different money story. And they'll start, okay, this is everything that's wrong with my story. And so I'm just going to make up the opposite of it, right? If I don't believe I'm worthy of money, I'm just going to start saying I'm worthy of money. And I think in the rare occasion that works. I think for the majority of human beings, we have to become the person who's worthy of money. And the way you become that is not just by saying it. Again, that works for some people. Saying affirmations never really worked for me because it felt flat. It didn't feel true. But when I started becoming the version of myself who had, did, or was whatever I wanted, which I now call your future self and do my future self coaching and mentoring around, that's when everything changed. It wasn't when I tried to force a change in my thoughts or force a change in my story. It's when I chose who I wanted to become, and then I chose the thoughts and beliefs that went along with that everything changed. And I think that that's what I've seen is how people's money story has changed dramatically. And you've heard from these people, right? You've been hearing stories about this. Money stories change when you set that intention to manifest $10,000. And so what I'm going to share with you is the keys to changing your money story. Again, you can go in depth with all of this stuff. I teach it in 5 days. There's 5 videos. There's 4 videos and then an ending. But so you can go to changeyourmoneystorychallenge.com and hear more about everything I'm going to talk about. But today I really want to talk about what I taught in this course and what was most helpful to people. And if you want more, you can go get it. Otherwise, you just can listen to this. So I think one of the best things that I've ever said, both to myself and that I teach, is tell the story, or the story you tell today is the life you live tomorrow. The story you tell today is the life you live tomorrow. You really are creating in each moment today what life you're going to live tomorrow. And so if you want tomorrow to be different, you have to start today. You have to start in the moment you realize this isn't the life I want to be living tomorrow, right? And it doesn't always change. Like some things change on a dime in an instant with the decision, right? And some things are a process. But it all starts with what you becoming aware today of what you don't want to live tomorrow. It might take you a week, a month, or a year to get to that point of living a totally new story. But that only happens after you decide today to start to change it for tomorrow. So just remember, the story you tell today is the life you live tomorrow. Let's go over how to change your money story. So I'm going to give you 5 ways to do it, 5 keys to changing your money story, how to do it. So you've heard me say this before, and I'm going to always say it again and again, because I was amazed. There was a lot of people in the Change Your Money Story Challenge who've been in my world for a while, right? And this still was something that felt a little bit new, and they were taking on in a whole new level. So I don't think you can hear this enough, because this is where people, when you want to change your money story, the first people everybody goes to is, okay, I got to look for my limiting beliefs. I got to look for my blocks. I got to look for all these things that I need to fix. The most important thing in changing your money story is to stop looking for limiting belief blocks and other things that you need to fix, right? Somebody quoted one of the things from the course, and I said something about you can't keep fixing yourself into success. It just doesn't work that way. If you keep looking for things to fix in order to be successful, you'll never get there, because all you're doing is creating more things to fix. Step into that successful version of yourself however you can do it today, where you are, and those things will get fixed along the way. Truly changing your money story comes from stepping into a new story. It doesn't really come from changing the story. I call the course Change Your Money Story, because that's what people think they need to do. And this is a little hint for business, all you, my business people. You have to meet people where they are. And so when my potential people that I would love to invite them into my space, they think the problem is they have to change their story. So that's why I call it Change Your Story. But in order to truly change your story, it really becomes, you become successful when you step into a new story. Writing a new one instead of trying to fix the current one always works better. Always. The more you identify, limiting beliefs, blocks, and other things that are wrong with your story, the more you create them. So the key to creating a money story that you love to live, and it's important, creating your money story is important because it ripples out into every single part of your life. Every part of your life. So when you write a new money story, you're writing a whole new direction for your life. And the key really to do that is to stop looking for limiting beliefs, blocks, all that other stuff, and start with a blank page and focus on what you want instead of what you think is getting in your way. So the next thing you want to do is you only want to tell the story you want to be true. I'm going to say it again. Only tell the story you want to be true. Let me explain this. You want to lead and stay in the story you want to be living more of tomorrow. Because remember, the story you create today is what you're living tomorrow. So you want to lead with and stay in the story you want to be living more of tomorrow. Often, you'll explain what is happening or you'll justify your success, right? I saw this all the time in Manifest 10K. It's like nobody could just be in the successful part. And I used to point this out a lot until I came to the point where I just didn't have time to coach and I wanted more commitment. But one of the things that I used to coach on most was stop telling the story. Stop justifying, stop explaining. Simply lead with the story you want more of and stay in that story. Don't go, oh, I found $10 today, but then blah, 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 blah happened. Just, I found $10 today. Awesome. Let's create more of that story tomorrow. When you say, I found $10 today, but I had an $8 charge in my bank or whatever, right? When you do that, you're basically telling the story that whatever money comes into my life gets canceled out. Stay in the story you want to be true. One of the things I talk about in the Change Your Money Story Challenge is how you can starve the energy of your old story by not talking about it, right? So if this old story is, I find $10, but then I get an $8 charge, then, you're just creating that, right? Basically, money shows up and money goes out. You're creating that whole story. Just stay in the story, lead with, hey, I found $10 today, and stay in the story you want to be true, right? Stay there. Stop explaining or justifying your success, because then you're going to have to justify it tomorrow. Like, just let it be and let it be awesome. This takes practice and it takes catching yourself. But really, every time you hear yourself talk about money, ask, like, do I want to be living more of this story tomorrow? Am I telling the story I want more of tomorrow? So, third way to really focus and change your money story is to keep your story simple. Keep your story simple. So many people think more is more. I am here to tell you less is actually more, especially when it comes to how many words you're using to tell your story. And this ties in a little bit about what we just talked about. But telling your story with fewer words means you're not explaining or justifying it. So one of the easiest ways to, I said in the last one, just tell the story you want to be true. Don't explain it. Don't justify it. One of the ways to make that happen is to really pay attention. Can I tell this story in fewer words? Can I talk about my money, what's happening in the fewest words possible? And when you learn to do this, when you learn to tell your story in fewer words, you're going to be choosing the most powerful story. It's really going to highlight where you're explaining and justifying things. And it takes practice, just like all of it. Telling your story with fewer words means you're not explaining or justifying it. Like I said, you become more confident in your new story because you're telling it as if it's true rather than justifying it. I want to say that again. You become more confident because you tell it as if it's true rather than justifying it. So every time you go, you say, oh, this money showed up, but I kind of did know it was going to happen. It's just more, right? You're justifying it, you're explaining it. Every time you do that, it's weakening the story. It's not making the good part true. But when you tell your story in as few words as possible, really increases that confidence. And it really does a lot to create the story that you want to be true. The fourth thing to do when you're changing your money story is to change your language to be more abundant. Change your language to be more abundant, right? Because it's not just what's happening in your world, it's how you talk about it that matters. Find ways to speak abundantly so that you're always creating a better money story. One example that you've probably heard me say, but it's my favorite example because it's so powerful, is that you can use the word invest instead of spend. Investing money yields a return. Your brain expects a return. So you start looking for what's the return on this? Is it joy? Is it happiness? Is it whatever? Right? You expect a return versus spending it is just sort of letting it go. Spending money is one thing and you just don't expect it to come back. But when you invest, that literally changes the way your mind thinks. And I give some other examples in the, Change Your Money Story Challenge, which you can join at changeyourmoneystorychallenge.com. So change your language to be more abundant. Start becoming, this is number 5, if you're keeping track. Hopefully you're not driving while you're keeping track. But start becoming the person. It's cool if you're listening while you're driving. I just want to clarify that. I just don't want you trying to write while you're driving. This is number 5 in how to change your money story. Start becoming the person who has money. Right? And this circles back to number 1. Most people will try and fix the beliefs about why they can't have money. But what you want to do is stop that and you want to start becoming the person who has money. The version of you who has more money in the bank is less stressed and taking more trips to Paris, thinks, believes, and acts differently than you do right now. Start engaging in those things now. Step into that version of yourself a little bit each day, and before you know it, you'll be that person. And so you do not, everyone thinks they have to go spend a bunch of money. They have to go spend, well, how can I be the person who's taking trips to Paris if I don't have the money to take the trips to Paris, or I'm not taking the trips? This is not about spending money. This is about tapping into how that person thinks differently. Guarantee you are thinking different thoughts if you're planning a trip to Paris because the money's in the bank than you are right now if you're, worried about something. You're a different person. When there is more money in the bank, you're different you think differently, you act differently, you believe differently, you speak probably more abundantly, which is why, that was number 4, is to change your language. And you can become that person today before the money gets in your account. And to be honest, the more you become that person today, the quicker that money will find its way to your account, because it's who you're being that matters, and who you're being that is going to create that new story that allows that money to come in and stay in your account and grow and do all those things. So start becoming the person who has money today. Just catch yourself and ask, if I had $10,000 in the bank, would I talk like that? Would I say that? Would I think about this? Would I be worried about this? Would I believe this? Just check yourself. I love the $10,000 mark, as you know, if you've been listening to this show for any length of time. And if you haven't, if this is your first time, welcome. So glad to have you listening. But the $10,000 mark matters a lot, because it's far enough out there that it's a big deal. It changes your life in some way or another. So just go around. If you had $10,000 in the bank, and check it. Would you think? Would you believe? Would you act? Would you say the things that you're doing and have done today? Or would it be different if there was $10,000 in the bank? And start shifting over and becoming that person who does have $10,000 in the bank. Which brings me to the final kind of point I want to wrap up in. Really having an intention that you can grow into and that you're moving towards and you're attracting is the best way to change your money story. It's so powerful because it just happens. You automatically, and that makes sense, right? You're growing into a person who has $10,000. You're going to grow and change. And that's a lot easier to grow in that process of becoming the person who has $10,000 than to just decide today that you need to do all these things differently. So I invite you, if you want some support and you want to get to the $10,000 as quick and easy as possible, you can go to manifest10k.com and you can get coaching with me, and we'll do the program together. You get some one-on-one time with me so that we can make sure we start you out on the right foot, which is really fun. And I just did a session a little while ago with somebody who's just starting out, and one of the things she said is, I never went this deep on my own. And that is the key. Really, I think that's probably, if I had to put coaching in one, like, what's the benefit, it's that you don't go deep as you can when there's someone else sitting there nudging you, prodding you, believing in you. You go much deeper than you do on your own when there's someone next to you or across the screen or on the phone, holding that space for you to go bigger. So I think that's the biggest benefit is that. And so if you want support, I'm here. If you don't need support, you can grab the book Manifest 10,000, my book, best-selling book, on Amazon.com, and order up a copy and really set the intention. Or you can just set the intention to attract $10,000 and watch who you become in the process, and watch how that changes your money story. And I don't care how you do it, as long as you do it, because I am about helping people change their money stories. So thank you for tuning in. As always, thank you for listening to the More Money Show. I love spending this time with you, and I'm going to work in these times where it's just me. We're going to keep going because I love to inspire you with other people's stories. And it's so funny because you guys will hear things differently from other people, which is why I do it. I have clients that say, oh man, so-and-so said this in their interview and it totally resonated. I'm like, yeah, that's definitely in the program. I've said that a couple of times, which is fine because it doesn't matter how you hear it. It just matters that you hear it. So keep enjoying their stories. Let me know how you like it, and keep stepping into the version of yourself who has money. Thanks for being here. And I'm going to leave you with this mantra. I am someone who has money. I am someone who has money. So practice that as it feels good. Put it on the mirror. Do whatever feels good. And go out there and attract more money. Have a fabulous day.
Thank you for joining us on The More Money Show. To learn the step-by-step process to welcome more money into your life, go to manifest10k.com.